What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that is streaming on Shudder that's been on there for a little while now because I just watched the first film in this series, Satan's Slaves. And as you heard in that review, I loved that movie. I thought that it was brilliantly atmospheric, genuinely great scares, fantastic performances, and I just had a blast with that movie. And I've been really looking forward to watching the second film because of how much I enjoyed the first movie. And I love when you can continue something like this, but try to do something a little bit different with it. And it sounded like from reading the plot description and looking about it online that the change in setting would create a really interesting way to tell this story. And the movie I'm going to be talking about with you today is Satan Slaves to Communion. Satan Slaves to Communion is directed by Joko Anwar. After moving from their home to an apartment building, a new terror awaits Reenie's family. So I was super excited to watch this movie. Like I said, the first Satan Slaves movie I thought was incredible. It really took me by surprise. I didn't expect a lot of the twists and turns. Really great atmosphere building up there. And what I will say about this movie is it's definitely enjoyable. I really liked the change in environment, and I feel like that added to a lot of the really creepy and unsettling imagery that Joko Anwar did such an amazing job with in the first movie. But my issue with this is it's a lot less effective. I feel like they introduce a lot of new characters. The storytelling is a little messier, and I feel like a lot of the exposition towards the end of the movie and the way things sort of play out is relatively unsatisfying in comparison to the original film, and I'll talk about that with you today as I break the movie down. Obviously, we are following the family from the original Satan Slaves after they left their home that was in the middle of the country, moved to an apartment building. They have now moved to another apartment building, and so we're introduced to the family again. Obviously, the daughter Reenie and her two brothers Tony and Bondi, and then their father Bari, and they've all moved in together. The father, I feel like, plays a less significant role in this movie than he did in the first film. He went away for a while, but in this movie in particular, you're kind of questioning what's going on with him. He seems very down and depressed, and we're not 100% sure what's going on with him. But Reenie has been doing this job, and she wants to leave to be able to go make more with her career. But she's also feeling very conflicted about it because of the fact that she's there with her father and her two brothers, and she's afraid if she leaves that it's going to be much more difficult on them because of all the horrible tragedy that they've gone through. Well, amidst deciding that she wants to leave, this horrible storm is coming into their community and going to be near their apartment complex. And there's this fear that she's not going to be able to get out. Well, as the storm approaches, weird things start happening around the apartment complex, and we're introduced to a bunch of different characters that live in the apartment building. And the entirety of the film is our cast of characters trying to figure out, is something similar to what happened to them in the first movie occurring? What could it possibly be, and how can they put a stop to it? So, like I said, I really loved the first movie, but I didn't like this one as much. But I will say, when we get into positives, the performances here from top to bottom, once again, are fantastic. I feel like the family dynamic in this, while not necessarily as strong as the first movie, it kind of makes sense with the older that the characters have gotten, how their lives have changed and shifted a little bit, that their relationship wouldn't necessarily be the same. But I feel like the family bond in the first movie is what made it resonate so strongly. I really appreciated a lot of the decisions there. In this one, it's not as strong, but the performances are still really great. I also liked a lot of the actors and actresses that were introduced as the newer characters. I feel like they added a lot of personality, and putting this in this apartment building made for a much more horrific experience when this type of situation is happening to much more people than just this one isolated family. Setting plays such an important role in this, very similar to the first movie. Cinematographically, this thing is beautiful. There are some shots and editing sequences that I was just completely and totally floored by how impressive the approach to the camera work was in this movie. Just really well shot, horrific, atmospheric, cinematographical experience. There's so many shots too where the cinematographer just holds on these images of really creepy things, very similar to the first film, Satan Slaves, that I really liked a lot, especially towards the third act. There's just like horrific imagery after horrific imagery. And that was where I felt like I was most invested in the movie as a whole. And obviously, the sort of lore behind all of this is really fascinating. I don't necessarily think this one lives up as much as the first one. It feels more like I cared less about the story in this as I did just watching the experience, where in the first movie I genuinely cared about the story and was really kind of invested in the twists and turns. And that's kind of where my problems play into this one. This movie is right around 2 hours long, and it feels way longer than it should. I feel like so much of this movie felt like it was just eating up runtime with just unnecessary expositional dialogue. We're setting up moments between new characters that I just didn't care as much about in the first movie. And then when the, reveals are happening about what's going on, it just feels like an exposition dump and less what made the first film so great, which was just introducing little things along the way rather than just kind of give it to you all at the same time. I also feel like they saved most of the horrific elements to the very end of the movie, where I feel like in the first film it was scattered throughout pretty well. This one, there's like one really horrific instance that happens, I'd say probably close to an hour into the movie, that really kind of sets the tone for what's going to happen for the remainder of the runtime. But I feel like they could have cut so much out. That's like the reporter in the first movie. His whole plot arc in this, it feels just kind of thrown in to have someone kind of come in and save the day towards the end and like kind of provide exposition dump and what have you, which made the movie feel a little bit more uneven to me, which was disappointing because, like I said, I loved the first movie. But I still think Joko Anwar's talent here, you can 100% see it, and just the quality he gets from his performers, and then the really incredible atmosphere that the film is conveying. It sort of reminded me of watching, Evil Dead Rise not long ago, where it's like taking place in this apartment building. There's something so horrifying about like being trapped in this very large space where like around any corner something terrible could happen. It just leaves so much more potential for that. And I really like, building up this family dynamic and them trying to stick together to get through whatever this terrible situation is, really creates for an enthralling experience. I just wish that there was a little bit more attention to detail in the screenplay, because there's just so much of this that felt like bloated runtime when they could have done something much more exciting and fun with it than what we actually got. And I definitely feel like they could have trimmed like 25 or 30 minutes off of this thing, and it would have felt like the exact same movie. I think if you enjoyed the first one, it's definitely worth watching just for completist sake. And I think there's enough here with the imagery and some of the moments towards the third act that are really suspenseful and enthralling that I think that you will appreciate. Have you seen Satan Slaves 2 Communion? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this was a really enjoyable experience, even though it's incredibly flawed. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.